This is a video in response to suicide for celluloid, and I'll cryptically say this to those who haven't been inquiring. I'm doing a lot better than I was a few weeks ago. This seems to be kind of the run of things from what I've been hearing, and so let's hope the relatively good times keep going. And I won't say any more than that. But the second wave of atheism, meaning a dialogue between theists and atheists that aren't of the radical strains, or even if they are willing to talk and not demonize the other side or reduce them down to the most extreme elements. I think people like Billy Bob, Bionic Dance, Venom Fang X, those people kind of brought around the conversations that we've been having. They kind of acted as a catalyst. Me, you, and Gambler talking, for instance, which recognizes some obvious points that people are people, and that even amongst people of this, same confessions, you can have different beliefs. And I think there's been some oh shit moments in the I don't like this term, but in the atheist community, such as zeitgeist. I mean, you even have Matt Dillahunty and pretty much every prominent atheist attacking that shitty pseudo documentary about, I mean, almost as soon as it came out, just months after it came out, and just destroying the Pagan Parallels thing as hack, well, non-scholarship, actually. I don't want to say hack scholarship, but it's good that it's progressed to this, and even with the creationist stuff. I mean, I've had to bring forward quotes from Clement of Alexandria, where he's basically the first one to talk about creationism, but he's using it as something that nobody believed in, as the biggest stretch you could possibly have. Like, imagine if somebody were to take, and he goes into it. It's in his Stromata, Clement of Alexandria's Stromata, and he's writing in the mid to late 2nd century. It's like 140 to 180 area. Because I can't remember the approximate date that they set for him. I think it's like 170 or something like that. So that the whole 6,000-year-old Earth thing is not is new. And as soon as people like Gambler and myself had run into these what I like to call fundamentalist evangelical proselytizing Christians that have gone one God less, they go, oh shit, there's a whole other branch a few branches out there. There's Eastern Christians that make up between 500 million and 750 million of the Christian population, or of the, I mean, we make up a huge chunk of the Christian population. That there are things that they presuppose about Christianity that not all Christians believe. The Bible is the Word of God, and this type of stuff. Or even the fact that many of them had many of these atheist fundamentalist evangelical types didn't even know that the Pope had come out in the 90s saying, evolution is pretty much undeniable, and that they actually started their inquiry into the beginnings of the universe and all this kind of stuff back in the beginning of the 20th century. And there was even a Catholic priest that proposed the theory of the Big Bang. So I think it's just through them having to, you know, defend their arguments or encountering other people that aren't, you know, white knuckling it and, you know, screaming sola scriptura. Again, sola scriptura, a modern idea. At least in terms of Christianity, it's only been around for about 500 years. A little bit less, probably. And that there are... what was the next thing I was going to say? Yeah, oh yeah, and that the... supposing that the true quote-unquote form of Christianity, or the ancient form of Christianity, would be obeying things from the Mosaic Law. I mean, to that extent, it makes you wonder if they ever read the New Testament, or what's called the New Testament in the West. So this new type of dialogue is grown up. It's a more adult form of it, instead of these hatchet attacks or these silly attacks on a group called Christians, apparently, that kind of paints it as a caricature. That's why I like using the form Christianities as a term, because there's many of them. I mean, even within those who would affirm something like the Nicene Creed, you find out how broad that actually is. But no, I think it's necessary. It's and even more than debates, like the dialogues, that it's finally grown up. It's not an us against them mentality. And I guess that's what gave rise to me making videos against, well, first about the myths surrounding Gnosticism, and what Gnosticism is as if it were some type of paganism, like Wicca or something. Which Wicca, again, I could go into how that's not even historical paganism in the least. But also of these misconceptions of what a Christian is, or what Christians believe, or how Christianity started, and all this foolishness. And unfortunately engaging people like Beelzebub, which, looking back on it, thinks that I mean, it was just silly. I mean, it's arguing with a barking dog, you know. But I think it's highly necessary for those interested in it. I mean, it might not be as entertaining as people swearing at each other, slandering each other, and making racist remarks at each other. But then again, there's always, I don't know if Jerry Springer's still on the air, but there's always shows like that. I mean, people can watch that kind of crap on TV. But if people are really interested in debate and dialogue, they should, and I mean, it shouldn't even be, this should happen, or it shouldn't happen. It's going to happen, and it has happened, and I've been in some of these dialogues with you, and they are helpful to those who are on, you know, one side of the I guess invented or created rift than the other. I mean, me, you, and Gambler have more in common than you do with people who have the label atheist, or that, especially that I do with people who have the label Christian. And a lot of times, I mean, from my perspective, the Venom Thang X's and the Beelzebubs, or whatever, well, Beelzebubs in particular, or the Bionic Dances, or any of these people, they seem to be almost in 100% agreement, or at least with, they seem very close to each other. But since they have a label, or they don't have this label, they wind up diametrically opposed to each other. And they'll go to the worst, they'll go to the meanest type of rhetoric and the craziest form of, I don't know, they just wind up being, they dehumanize their perceived enemy, and it's sickening. So yeah, I guess it boils down to, I think it's necessary for people to treat each other as human beings. and not to degrade them to a label and just attack them on a basis of a label. And I think this really came out with the Billsy Bob Theo Warner thing, when Big Lundy and Napalm the Phoenix and Cardinal Virtues and Mike Norman and all these people came out to defend them. And now Mike Norman's not, I don't believe he holds the title atheist or subscribes to it, but yet those other guys have said they are atheists and got in the mix and shown that yeah, those of us who are not, you know, who don't hate a group of people or, you know, whatever, have more in common. Sorry this is really run on and confused, but the Billsy Bobs and the Venom Fang X's are a confusing bunch to me. This is a video in response to Suicide for Celluloid, and I'll cryptically say this to those who haven't been inquiring. I'm doing a lot better than I was a few weeks ago. This seems to be kind of the racists and atheists that aren't the radical strains. Or even if they are willing to talk and not demonize the other side or reduce them down to the most extreme elements. I think people like Billsy Bob, Bionic Dance, Venom Fang X, those people kind of brought around the conversations that we've been having in the I don't like this term, but in the atheist community, such as Zeitgeist. I mean, you even have Matt Dillahunty and pretty much every prominent atheist attacking that shitty pseudo documentary about, you know, I mean, almost as soon as it came out. One of things from what I've been hearing, and so let's hope the I guess the relatively good times keep going, and I won't say any more than that. But the new second wave of atheism, meaning a dialogue between they kind of acted as a catalyst. Me, you, and Gambler talking, for instance, which recognizes some obvious points that people are people, and that even amongst people of this, you know, same confessions, you can have different beliefs. And I think there's been some oh shit moments